All right, guys. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton, Sihan, and we are here again as I am the host of True TV. Very excited to bring more truth and more expansion and more love to your neck of the woods, your area, wherever you are in the country. I am just going to remind you guys that we do have a membership if you're very interested in getting some of the not public meetings that we have and or shows that are not public, then for a very small amount of $4.99 you can become a member. We have member meetings once a month. We do giveaways. And like I said, there's a lot of content that is secret only to members. And so I will have all the links up here for that. But also just want to remind you guys that sharing and subscribing really helps too. If you could hit that subscribe button, what I've noticed in the analytics is about 40% of you guys who follow don't even subscribe. So I would love it if you guys would hit that subscribe button. Believe it or not, that really, really helps us stay and gives more visibility and opens up this a little bit more because we have the people that be out there that, sometimes don't want this stuff to get out. So sharing, commenting, and, all of those things really, really do help more with visibility. And with what we're talking about today, and with a lot of the shows that we have, what we share, you never know how it's going to affect someone or help someone or support someone, give them hope, give them inspiration or ideas, or just not feel alone. There's a lot of people who've expressed just feeling in a dark spot or feeling alone. And what we're going to bring or what we bring is, fun and ease. And we offer encouragement and hope. And this one specifically today with Lisa Rooney, you're really going to love. I'm super excited because we're going to talk about toxicity. We're going to talk about trauma. We're going to talk about how to clear those things. We're going to talk about homeopathic ways to, get yourself into alignment, into that natural state where we can be in a better, sharper version of ourselves. So, without further ado, I'm going to explain like the reason why I met Lisa or how I ever actually met Lisa is Laura Eisenhower and myself did a retreat back in October in Destin, Florida. And Lisa felt the call to come and hang out with us. And I was delighted. I mean, just a bright, radiant light. And we've stayed connected over this season. Matter of fact, we're going to do another retreat this October for those of you guys who choose to come hang out. And maybe Lisa will be back with us. But we wanted her to come and bring her light and her shine to you guys and you as an audience, you as our friends. I would love for you to see the gifting and the services and everything that she offers to this planet for us in this season and time. So Lisa, thank you for coming and being with us. And I'll just start with saying hi, and then can you go into a little bit about how you got into this space?
Yeah, thank you so much. And that retreat was so much fun. I went with a couple girlfriends. It was like spur of the moment thing. One of my girlfriends called me and said, "Let's go to this." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And we had a fantastic time. So if anybody has not been and they are considering going at your next retreat, I highly, highly recommend it. It was just such a lovely, lovely time.
I'm so excited for the
Yeah,
next.
it was
Yes.
it was so nice to meet you and I remember we had that conversation on the couch and you were talking about something and I was like, "Well, what about this?" And you looked at me and you were like, "Oh, I didn't even think of it that way." Do you remember that conversation?
That's what happens when like minds come together. There's
Hmm.
such a collab mentally, spiritually, energetically. Like we all just seem to draw in the
Yeah.
most fantastic, beautiful tapestry of people. And that's how I felt with you. I literally was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
More.
It was great. So, I am a certified life coach. I'm an energy-based healer and I'm also a homeopathic consultant. And I combine these three modalities to help people who are struggling with anxiety, overwhelm, stress, trauma, and all of the physical ailments that go along with all of the emotional things that they are discussing or that they are experiencing. Some people find their way to me through the mind. They've been, they're having all the anxiety and the emotional trauma, and they've seen the therapist and they've seen the doctor and they might have been on, pharmaceuticals, or if they're not, if that's not the route that they go, they've tried, meditation, and they've tried the somatics, and they've tried like a whole host of things and have had great success, but maybe they've plateaued and they just can't figure out what direction to go next. And that's oftentimes when they find their way to me. Others find their way to me because they're having the physical issues, the gut issues, and they just can't seem to get the gut issues taken care of. And what we determine as I begin working with them is that there's an entire emotional component that's going on that is directly related to the gut. So when we layer in the methods that I use to handle the emotional component as well as the physical components, then we see the symptoms begin to abate and they get more in line with the type of life that they want to live, which is healthy, focused, on purpose, full of joy, relaxed, and with clarity, in the direction that they want to go.
That is amazing. And that makes me think of the word integration or integrity. That word integrity comes from integration. And when we are integrated, things are just smoother, And I think we have a tendency to segment things, even in the medical model, but not just the medical, in all of the ways, like we tend to compartmentalize and be like, well, that's over there and this is over here. And medical wise, we might be like, well, hormones, that's over here, but that has nothing to do with the pancreas or the mind or the emotion. It's like, no, you can't pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. Like everything is connected. We're all one. We all have that collective consciousness as well. But in the physical body, you know, everything matters, literally, even our emotions, even our thoughts, even trauma. And I know you deal a lot with trauma.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask about that, but also you mentioned somatic,
Mhm.
and that's like, explain, I know what it means to me, but explain that and then go into the trauma piece if you don't mind.
Yeah, within the context of my practice, somatic healing is very broad. There's a lot of different methods that can be used for somatic healing, but it's basically uh, kind of the short version is really when we have trauma, it gets locked in our bodies. It kind of comes through our body's energetic system. It gets locked into the body. In my practice, the way I frame it up is that it gets locked into the nervous system. And what I find with my clients is that no amount of talk therapy can really get that out of the nervous system. And so somatic healing is about getting into the body and getting that stuff that's locked into the body's energy system out. And whether or not that's in, the nervous system or, within the chakra system or the auric field, I work in all of those fields. And so that's kind of how I layer that in. Now, within the context of my practice, I am based in Atlanta, in the suburbs of Atlanta. So if I have local clients, they can come to my office, get on my table, and we do some energy-based healing, somatic work, face to face. But most of my clients I work with virtually. And so then I'm utilizing somatic techniques that they can do. I teach them and that they can do. We might do them in session together, and then they might do them on their own as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, how is trauma related to all this as far as once it's cleared, what are the opportunities or what do you see? What do people experience if they can get that cleared? And what is the path to clearing? Like what modalities do you use to clear?
Yeah. So there's everybody's so different, and how they experience their traumas is so different. So the way that I look at trauma is most people think of trauma and they think of it like as a big T. You know, I had this car accident, or maybe I was in an abusive relationship, or maybe I witnessed something and it was this massive event. That's what I would call a big T. It's a big trauma. And that's pretty obvious. And sometimes when somebody experiences something like that, again, it kind of gets stuck within the body's energy system. They repeat it in their mind. It impacts their sleep. It impacts their ability to function in their daily life. And over a period of time, if they're unable to resolve that, then it impacts, all kinds of things in their life, from the way they feel to the way they think to the way they sleep to the way they show up in their lives. And oftentimes it gets people really stuck because you begin to repeat not only the traumas, but all of the things that come from that trauma. So you might have seen a trauma because you witnessed a car accident. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, you get into the car, you get on the freeway, and now you're having anxiety about being in the car. And then the next thing you know, you're having anxiety, when you want to travel on a plane. And it just kind of can roll from there. Anxieties come up from that you wouldn't ever think that would be related to that initial trauma, but that it all just kind of rolls, you know, one thing to the next to the next. So that's a big T. But I think what many of us don't understand, or what we don't realize, is that we also have a lot of little T's in our life all the time. So those are the little teeny traumas, or the micro traumas, that we don't recognize as some big thing. And they have become so normal in society that we just don't think that we are being traumatized in any way, that they are creating tension within our body and with our energetic system that we just don't think about it. That could be every day when we turn on the news and we see what's going on with the 24-hour news cycle and the constant. That could be what we're doing with social media. We don't realize that this constant feeding of the perfect life that everyone is going through, that everyone is putting out on social media. I have this perfect life. I'm doing all these things. For a young adult or a young teenager, that could be very traumatizing every single day that they see that, because that's not the life that they have.
Right.
And so, it could be that we live in a relationship that is not well connected. We've kind of, it may not be a horrible relationship, but we're not well connected. We're kind of like on autopilot. We're not spending time together. There's no physical touch. Maybe a married couple is not sleeping together anymore. Like, all of those things upset the energetic balance within our system. And so those can be small stressors or traumas that over time have a big impact. The other thing that I look at in terms of trauma is um, what I call chemical interventions. So that is when people come to me and they have been on a lot of pharmaceuticals, or they've taken a lot of injections, or they're eating food that is very highly chemically laden. All of those things create stress on the body. It's traumatic for the body to get, constant layers of that and have to like work to undo it. Those can then also be traumas, which then relate into toxicity, which could be an obstacle to cure. So those are all the things that I look at within the context of my practice. And then of course, thoughts. Where are your thoughts? What's going on in your mind? How are
Yeah.
you experiencing your life on a daily basis? Are you aligned with, your purpose? Do you understand what your values are? Many people are walking around thinking that they have these core values that are really based on the values that came from their family of origin, or their community, or their church, or within their marriage. And when we dig into what do you really value, with the women I work with have aha moments. And the realization that, like, wow, I've been living my entire life thinking that was important, and that was never important, and no wonder it never worked.
Yes.
So much.
Yes. And I mean, I know at our retreat too, it was right before, it was in October, and I was doing a no November right
Mhm.
on the end of that. And my revelation there, I was actually talking to Valerie, is one of the people that came to the meeting. She had talked about just not drinking anymore. And she wasn't like an alcoholic or anything. But when we started getting there thinking about it, even having like a couple glasses of wine or, whatever situation, if your body has to undo that over the night season, after you subjected yourself to that, then and to detox, then anything that you've done to add to your health throughout the day sort of comes undone because
Yeah.
and or your sleep time that's normally meant to reconstruct and to renew and to clear out and all the stuff that it does, HGH, human growth hormone, like all those things that help rebuild, strengthen, would spend all the time detoxing.
Mhm.
So you have that window of not restoring, rehealing, whatever, because your body shifts to having to get rid of the poison. And so it was kind of an aha for me. I was like, oh, I'm going to do no November. But I didn't really think of it like a stressor, like you said, but that's actually messing with the algorithm. So I could see how
Yep.
that would be a stressor for sure. How, what are the tools that you use to do the clearing? Like, how do you clear people?
Yeah, so usually when I start working with someone, we whether they are so I offer coaching packages that incorporate homeopathic consults in them, and so that is really for someone who is really looking to make some changes in their life. They, maybe do not feel very aligned. They don't know what they value. They're having emotional issues. They're having physical issues. They might have had a lot of trauma. They might be in relationships, whether it's work or personal, that they're not happy with, and they're just really trying to make a very, very big shift in their life. So within my coaching packages, we focus a lot. I do a homeopathic assessment. So I take a look at what's going on, where are their traumas, where is their toxicity, what's going on with their thoughts. I listen to what their symptoms are telling me, what organ systems are being impacted. I incorporate Chinese five element theory within in my package in my practice. So I'm listening to, what are my clients' bodies telling me? And then what are the words that they're using? And what are the thoughts that they have to understand where do they need the support? So once I kind of gather all of that information, which is incorporating in some traditional life coaching, Chinese five element, homeopathic miasms, a lot of theory around homeopathics and what remedies are recommended or suggested for their particular ailments. Then we get them on the right remedies, and then we move kind of into the coaching portion, and that's when we start while the remedies are working in the background. Then I'm working with them to, focus, get clear on their focus areas, uncover their values, address their limiting beliefs, get into the traumas, where those come from, and that's when somatic work might come in. And so I kind of layer all of these things together, with the homeopathic remedies kind of being the
Undercurrent.
the undercurrent that is helping to really loosen the hold that a lot of these things have on the nervous system. I use specific combinations to help clear, especially if someone is very toxic. So
Mm.
they might be on a couple of different, combinations of remedies. One that might be clearing the toxins, one that might be working on the emotions, one that might be supporting the organs. And then I've got the coaching that helps to kind of provide this container for them as things start to come up, and really helps direct them into how they let go, how they get, realigned, how they get clarity. Um, Sometimes I bring in some parts work. So we might be working with various parts of the individual that is, either having a hard time letting go, or that little girl inside that is, just protecting and not able to move forward, all of it's all kind of incorporated in. Um, if they just want to work with me homeopathically, then I have a homeopathic consults package, And so we're just working on mental, emotional, but there isn't any of the coaching, any of the values, none of the somatic work that's involved in that program. So I offer two different programs, just depending on where people are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the Chinese element, like
Mhm.
that's all new to me. Explain that for anyone else who doesn't know what that means.
Yeah, Chinese five element theory basically takes a look at the organ systems and the emotions associated with that organ system. So where that plays out, and that's a very quick kind of description of what where that plays out. I am, if you have acupuncturists or ch doctors of Oriental medicine, they're going to be much more into that particular system. The way that I apply it in my practice is it lets me know when I filter it through five element theory, it lets me know what's going on. So for example, if I have a woman that is having a lot of genital urinary issues, maybe painful periods, maybe frequent urination, cysts on the ovaries, things of that nature, then I know according to five element theory that there is fear somewhere in their history because fear is associated with the kidneys and kidneys are associated with that genital urinary system.
Oh,
So I utilize Chinese five elements to help me
no.
get very, yeah, to really help me get very clear. Now, there might be things underneath that. So there might be other systems that are involved, but that's the uppermost. That's what the body is presenting. So that's what I work with.
Wow. And you can do all of this over the phone and or in person. If people are in Georgia, they can just
Mhm.
come to you.
Yes,
And
yes. As a matter of fact, most of my clients is Zoom. We just get on Zoom. We talk the way we're talking right now. It all works. But if I do have clients that are local to the Atlanta area and they want to come in for like some healing touch work, get up on my table, it's a little bit different experience, but I offer that as well.
it's
Yeah,
amazing. Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Well, well, for those who may be struggling right now with all the stuff, there's so much polarization, and like you mentioned, the news, that's the ongoing cycle. And to be completely honest, I mean, it seems like there have been event after event after event here lately on a country scale anyway, and probably on an earth scale. For those who are just feeling depressed or lost or just hopeless, like where would someone start? Like what would you suggest if they were going to work with you?
Yeah, so I think, if some so I why don't I introduce one of my favorite homeopathic remedies? Which is always a great place to start. Most of the time when clients come to me and we kind of start to unpack what's going on, this is one of the remedies that I usually incorporate into their remedy suggestions, into some of their protocols. So this is a remedy called Ignatia.
It's called
Um,
what?
Ignatia,
Ignition.
Ignatia,
Hmm.
Ignatia. It's made from a plant,
Hmm.
and it is the remedy for overwhelm, anxiety, grief, when we have things that are spinning in our head. I wish I would have. Oh my gosh, what about this?
Like
You
just
know,
ruminating.
ruminating. Yes, yes. It is a remedy called Ignatia. And we call this the queen of psychological remedies in homeopathy. She is a beautiful remedy. I often introduce her as one of my best girlfriends because she will come in and out of your life as things happen. So, for your listeners, if you're not familiar with homeopathy is a system of medicine. It's been around for over 250 years. It is remedies are made from plants, minerals, animals, natural things found out in the environment, out in the world. They are manufactured in labs that are FDA approved, FDA monitored. Um, and there really is, I'm gonna say there really is probably no human condition that homeopathy can't touch in some way. Doesn't necessarily mean that homeopathy can always eliminate every issue that's going on. I don't think there's any form of medicine out there that can do that, in all cases, but it is a very, very powerful remedy, comes without side effects, very cost effective, easy to use once you learn how to use it. And it's really, for me, it has become the primary medicine in my home. It became the primary medicine in my home probably, well over a decade ago. I learned about it when I first had my kids, but I didn't really understand how to use it. It was very difficult. And so I kind of relegated it to, the back burner. And then right around the time my kids were in middle school, I found a couple of really good teachers and some good methodologies. And I was like, oh, now this medicine makes sense. And so I started using it and then started having study groups and then started teaching classes and then started taking clients and, continued to get, got certifications and, kind of did all of that kind of thing. So it is the primary medicine in my home. When we had COVID going around, I treated my entire community with homeopathic remedies. Um, safe for babies, safe for pregnant moms. It's just a wonderful form of medicine. So for someone who is feeling overwhelmed, what I recommend is Ignatia 200. 200 is the potency or like the strength of it. And I suggest that people take it twice daily. Now, I will say that with the disclaimer that I'm not your doctor, I'm not prescribing, this is just a suggestion that has worked for many, many, many of my clients, worked for me, worked for my daughter, I use quite frequently within my household. And it really does help to, obviously it's not going to take away because it's not a drug. It doesn't suppress. But what it does is it helps to just take the edge off of those thoughts that are just constantly ruminating and ruminating, or off of that grief that is just, lingering and holding on, and you just can't seem to move past it.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
so two things. Is this, and I know we're running short on time at this moment, but is this the same as like Rescue Remedy? Kind of,
Yeah, Rescue Remedy is a similar Rescue Remedy comes out. It's actually flower essences. So, but they are prepared homeopathically. So yes, it's in the same camp.
got it.
Yeah, for sure. For
And
sure.
and where is like a book on this or a resource for someone who wanted to dive in on what this is about or how to get more
Yeah,
information?
on homeopathy. Oh my gosh, there's so many out there. I have a book that I love. Let me see if I even have it on my shelf. Oh, yes, it's right here. This is a great one to get started. It's called What's the Remedy for That?
What's the remedy for that? Okay.
Yeah, it's written by Kathleen Fry. It's a very, very good starter book. However, what I will share with your audience is that I actually have a Homeopathic Foundations Plus course that is a 6 module, pre-recorded course that dives deep into the foundational principles of homeopathy. So
Cool.
this course, yeah, this course is real, depending on what your learning style is, if you prefer to have a book, that makes sense. But I'm a visual learner. I love to listen to a class and, have somebody kind of talking to me and taking notes and all that. So that's kind of how I teach. So this class is really the culmination of everything that I wish I had had
Yeah.
when learning homeopathy. I spent years studying and kind of fumbling around and trying to figure out a good way to apply homeopathy in my home. I just knew it was such a powerful medicine, but in the beginning, like I said, I didn't understand it. So
Yeah.
when I really found these teachers and I began to learn and then started you running some study groups and then started teaching classes and taking clients, it was like all the things that I learned have culminated within this course.
Awesome.
So it's a great place for people to start. They can find it on my website at
Yeah.
Vibrant, yep,
Yeah.
Vibrant Life
So that's what I was about to
247.com.
say. Tell everybody how to find you, how they can connect with you, how they can get any information with your services? Sorry, that's exactly where I was going next.
Yeah. So you can find out all about me on vibrantlife247.com, vibrantlife247.com. Um, everything that I do is out there. You can go to the Work With Me page to see all of the different services that I offer. Um, to get to know kind of what's going on in my practice, to know of new classes that are coming up, new offers and everything. I do recommend that you get on my email list. That's the first way that I communicate kind of with my community and let them know what's going on. So do subscribe there. You can, there's a little drop, pop-up thing when you go onto my website. And I don't blast people. You get like one a month, really, maybe two. You can also find me on socials, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then I did want to offer for your audience, if anybody's interested and they want to know more, they want to, work with me or just have a conversation to see if any of my services will benefit them. Just get on my schedule. You can reach it from my website and schedule a free discovery call with me. It's free. We'll talk for about 20 minutes or so. And then based on that, we'll determine, whether my coaching package or my homeopathic consults are better suited for you. And if you mention that you heard me on your show, I will offer you $100 off whatever package we determine is best.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to put all of this in the show notes, and I am very intrigued about this course myself because that's an area I haven't looked into. I know Bob Stevens was a big person regarding rescue remedy, and I know there's like cherry wood and or I'm making things up, but just birch and
Yes.
witch hazel or whatever. I don't even know all the stuff, but I always found it really interesting, but that's not like a path I have taken yet. It's one that I've been interested in, and I might actually take the course myself.
Well,
So
that would be
there's
wonderful.
that.
Yes,
But
that's wonderful.
awesome. Well, you guys who are watching, I hope that you will jump in, go check out her socials, her website, her offer, all of these things that have been so generously given to you. And if you feel like this is a match for you, this might be a way for you to kind of get out of whatever your stuck pattern is, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, partnership wise, relational, maybe career. It
Mhm.
sounds like there's a lot of different areas that this can touch on. And so I do encourage you guys to check it out. And I appreciate you so much, Lisa, for being with us. And maybe we'll see you again in a few months in Destin. If you choose to come back, we'll hang out a little bit more on the beach and get some vitamin D and some vitamin C and some playtime in there. But yeah, thank you very much. And again, everybody who's watching, if you could help me out and go ahead and hit that subscribe, like, share. I know for a fact there's someone that needs to hear this information and they may be just stuck in a fog or feeling a little down or feeling isolated again with all the energies going on. It's easy to think that we don't have the mechanics, but we actually do. And sometimes it just takes someone with a little guidance that's been there before to kind of help us on the way. And you can definitely tell if someone is helping you from the expertise of reading a book about it versus like being in the trenches and
Mhm.
knowing how it is to be in those positions and experience and teach out of that experience. And Lisa is someone who has reversed a lot of different avenues of her life. She's not just someone who read about it and she's here to help you now. She's actually lived it and reversed some things in her own life and has seen this with multiple people and multiple clients all over the world. So you guys check her out and you can go to drsharnael.com for all of my resources and our show. We're here on the show every Thursday at noon. Again, hit the subscribe and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Make it really great today and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. It's a
All right.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.